Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for February 13th, 2025. Well, we had quite a wild day yesterday with a CPI number that came in hotter than expected, dropping the markets, but in normal fashion that we have seen here lately, we just can't wait to buy any tech as soon as it wiggles lower. And that was a big part of that move yesterday, just diving back into those tech giants, trying to pump the markets back up. You know, we have a couple of things out there. This is just a new article out that Bank of America is warning of growth stock bubble. And one of the things that I have been talking about is just how centric we are into just a few companies. You can see right here they're suggesting that just 5 stocks account for 25% of the S&P 500. So we are very centric into that tech sector. And there are some warning signs out there of evaluation issues, and of course the huge spend that they're doing on AI, which at least at this point has not returned any growth or any profits on this kind of spend. There is some concern that we might be reaching kind of a bubble situation in the tech sector. So watch that carefully. Now, having said that, how about we dig into what happened overnight? Overnight, Asian markets kind of mixed. We had Australia hit some new intraday records, moving up sharply, up $4.70 at the close, 0.06 in the finish of the day. The Nikkei had a good day, up 1.28%. India was lower. Hong Kong was lower by 0.20, and Shanghai was lower at the close of the day. If we take a look at Europe, European markets have some stocks hitting some fresh record highs as well, fueled on earnings reports. And right now we have the DAX up sharply, up 1.75%, while the FTSE, well, it's a little bit lower, 0.59%, and the CAC also up pretty sharply, up 1.55% here today. So we'll want to be keeping an eye on those European markets. This morning, we have U.S. futures trying to push to the upside. They were up a lot more overnight than they are right now, and they have been lower so far this morning as well. But right now, we've got the Dow futures up 46 points. The S&P 500 futures are up $3.50, and the NASDAQ futures up 45.25. So taking a look at other things that's going on here in the market, if we take a look at oil, oil futures moving here to the downside this morning. You can see we've got the producers there moving down just a little bit. Oil futures at the moment down 77 cents at $70.60 a barrel. So that's easing some pressures there. Brent crude is coming in around 74.32, also down pretty substantially. And on the other hand, we've got natural gas making a nice little pop here to the upside this morning, up at 10 cents on natural gas, showing some strength in that move back higher. If we take a look at bond yields this morning, well, bond yields kind of surprisingly are lower here this morning. And, after a higher CPI, we reacted negatively, but then we eased off just a little bit here in those bonds. The 2-year bonds right now coming in at 4.34%. The 10-year bonds, 4.60%. In the 30-year bonds, 4.80%. And if we were to take a look at the U.S. dollar is easing back as we speak here this morning, pulling back and still putting in that opportunity that this could be lower highs across here. We do want to watch this as well, though. We've got this wedging pattern in here that we're dealing with. Resistance over the top, and we've got some pretty decent support underneath this area as well. So we'll have to keep a close eye on that. It's really trying to make a decision here. Are we going to be putting more pressure or cost into that dollar, or will that be shrinking back? We'll have to wait and see. What we can see from that, however, is, well, gold that took a little bit of a rest here is moving higher this morning. Right now, gold is up almost $16 an ounce, $2,944 an ounce. Silver is also up this morning. We've got silver futures pushing to the upside just a tiny little bit by a nickel at $32.80 an ounce. Copper is a little bit higher this morning as well, getting a nice little push here. Possible higher low coming into CLPX in here. Keep an eye on that. This is in a rounded bottom breakout pattern, so keep an eye on copper. Might be coming up, and you might want to be taking a look at like FCX also putting in a possible higher low, still underneath its 50-day moving average, but starting to show some improvement. So if copper's going to come up, boy, one of the things we've seen here lately are those miners doing a lot of strong movement to the upside. So keep an eye on FCX. If we take a look at the crypto markets here this morning, well, a little bit of a reversal here on those. A lot of volatility in it yesterday, and this morning we've got Bitcoin lower by $1,232 a coin, 1.27%. Ether is down $18.66 a coin, down 0.73%, and mostly red on those cryptos here this morning. So keep an eye on those. A lot of whipsaws, a lot of volatility in these markets. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Thursday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much. Hey, just a big thank you to everyone. The well wishes, the condolences yesterday, truly humbling. Thank you so much, everyone. It's nice to know that the community here on YouTube is so kind, and I really do appreciate all the kind words of support as we go through kind of this troubled time here in our lives, but we will make it through it. We're not the only ones to go through this. There's a lot of folks dealing with things that are much worse than what we're dealing with here. So thank you so much for everyone for your kindness. Let's take a look at these index charts and see if we can kind of gain a little information about how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at the charts for what they are, not for what we would like them to be. If we take a look right here on the diamonds, you can see we're still struggling in this wedging pattern here. Yesterday, we dropped below that little area in the chart, but we held this price support and rallied right back up to price resistance. So if we can get a little bit of bullishness in the data today, maybe we can push that up through yesterday's high and then see if we can get on up through some of these areas here and see if we can reattack this downtrend area here in the chart. Now, of course, if the bears have anything to say today, I would not rule out a retest of yesterday's low. And what would be really critical and probably scary for the market if we were to push on down to test the low of that big reversal candle. Breaking down below there, I think, would really raise some concern in the market and raise some fear. And of course, that would be testing hard or maybe even failing that 50-day moving average. So watch that closely. And we know with the data that we have coming, it is certainly possible, and all the uncertainty, that we have out there around the world right now. And tariff threats for today possibly coming where they're going to double down or on some tariffs, so watch that carefully. If we take a look at our SPY, pushing up here toward resistance in the chart, and as you can see, we rallied back sharply yesterday. I don't quite understand why there's such an exuberant push into all tech all the time. I think that's going to be turn out to be a dangerous thing, but I certainly couldn't rule out the possibility that we could see new record highs here in the SPY. And if those bulls can find any inspiration in today's data to push on through, then I would look for a test up in here to see if we can test that resistance high and kind of break that downtrend. Past that point, you can just see we could progressively start moving up in here and see if we can work into an all-time high here in the Qs. Seems like nothing seems to matter. Valuations don't matter. The patterns of the chart don't matter. Just hurry up and buy tech. We'll see if that plays out to the benefit of those buyers, or if it ends up hurting a lot of folks. We'll want to watch that closely. Now, if the bears were to get something going here on the day, if those bears were to push back in here, possibly a test back down in here to test this support, and then maybe even the low of yesterday on that gap down. And if the bears were to continue to push, that's where some concern would probably come in, pushing down into these next levels of support. You can see breaking that the low of yesterday's candle could potentially break that 50-day moving average and really raise some concern in the market. If we take a look at our QQQ, very similar situation, a complete pushback here in the Qs. It was mostly in just a handful of tech stocks that pushed that rally back up. We're pumping into this resistance here in the chart, so if we can continue to get that bullishness today, then a push on through to test that resistance high, maybe just a tiny bit higher to get through that little tops of that little 3-candle pattern right there. And if we can do that, then I would say we're on our way up here to test all-time highs in the Qs. Now, if the bears get something going here today, we've got a little bit of price support right in here that maybe we could count on to hold that chart in place. If that were to fail, though, I think we might come back and test this area of the chart right here pretty easily. And of course, beyond that point, then we're starting to push down into this next level of price support, which would likely raise some concern because that would potentially constitute a failure of its 50-day moving average. And then if we take a look at our Russell, poor IWM, it just has such a time getting anything going because all the money seems to be going into tech stocks and piling in there. IWM just kind of feels like it's been left behind and unloved anymore, but it did catch a few buyers in here. We did hold this price support after gapping lower, so keep an eye on that. If we can get some bullish follow through in here, we might be able to push up through this resistance or to that resistance, and then pushing through there, we might be back up here testing these levels here in the chart. If the bears, however, have anything to say, and they push this back down, testing this area of price support, of course, a break of that would probably raise some concern here on the Russell. And remember, this has already failed its 50-day moving average, so there's a pretty high odds IWM will see its 200-day moving average here before too long. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at our VIX. Now, our VIX, kind of surprising yesterday with all of the volatility we had in price action, well, just didn't do much. It popped up strongly, on that higher inflation, but we have decided yesterday, we don't care about inflation. We don't care. It doesn't matter. We just want to buy some stuff. And push this all the way back down. So we still have this uncertainty in here on this. If the bulls can continue to find that push here today, maybe we break this little upside trend to the downside. Maybe we catch some support in here or even move on lower. But right now, the bulls are saying none of this stuff matters. Just get out of my way so I can buy some stuff. So watch that carefully here. Now, if the bears were to find any inspiration in the data today, well, it certainly wouldn't be all that hard to see a little pop up in this little consolidation in here. Where we would really start to worry is if we start breaking some of these resistance levels in the chart. But right now, there seems to be really no bad news that the market's concerned about. Just I want to buy. So watch that closely. Our T2122, the T2122 indicator, interesting day yesterday, how we moved around quite a bit. At the open, we were down here in the bullish reversal zone, and then of course all day long we saw that buyback rally pushing us back up. We ended the day with right here around 32-33% here. So if the bulls can find inspiration and continue to push here today, and there's every reason to believe they can, then we've got that potential that we could push right on through. We got plenty of room for the upside if the bulls can get going and get some inspiration here. If the bears, however, get some inspiration here, well, we know we've got some more downside opportunity possibility to be watching for in T2122. What you do want to note is even with that big rally yesterday back up, the majority of stocks were still selling. And so again, it was very centric into just a few areas of the market. If we take a look at T2108, well, T2108 didn't fare all that well yesterday, even with the rally back up, and consequently, it's because more stocks were moving down than moving up. We had T2108 going a little bit lower. We're down here about 45 handles in this. So we've got, just a few less than 50% of the stocks that are holding above their 40-day moving average. And it does make it a little bit tough to be roaringly bullish in the market when we see those kind of things happening. Maybe today we fix that. I don't know. If we take a look at T2107, same thing. We had percentage of stocks above the 200-day declining yesterday. Been really small price moves in here. So watch that carefully. If we can get some bullish action, maybe we're back up here testing that 50% area. We've got some support areas down in here if the bears were to continue to push. So watch carefully there. And our T2101, maybe one of the more concerning things is, well, we're not getting any breadth in this market. There's no momentum in the market. Now, we did see a little bit of an increase here on that yesterday. Fortunately, that was on a selling wave. So we might be giving an opening here to the bears. If there is reason for the bears to attack, this could embolden them a little bit. We'll want to watch that carefully here. But right now, very low breadth here in the market. So any of these moves can't really be trusted, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're getting, the big point whipsaws that we are, is the breadth just, it's not there. And anytime we get these big moves, then they get whipsawed. So again, guys, I'm going to be warning of potential whipsaws on these data points here, and going into a 3-day weekend with all the uncertainty out there, I would be watching for that carefully, and remember, plan your the rest of your week very carefully heading into that 3-day weekend with all the things that are happening, not just here in the United States but around the world. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, well, we've got Few things here this morning. First thing we're going to get is we're going to get those jobless claims here this morning, and they are expecting in consensus that declines just slightly to 217,000. That'd be down from the 219. So keep an eye on that. That could provide a little bit of bullish help here in the market. Unfortunately, on the PPI, they are not expecting all that great of numbers. The range in here is pretty strong, and remember the CPI, they kind of missed on those, so watch this carefully. Consensus is suggesting that the month over month goes to a 0.3, increasing from 0.2, that the year over year ends up coming down a tenth. So watch that carefully. And ex food and energy, they're saying that goes from a 0 to a 0.3, while the year over year also declines to 3.3 from a 3.5. They didn't give us too much data in here on the consensus. CPI numbers yesterday would lead me to believe this could be a miss. So be careful in here. We could see quite a little bit of volatility around that number. Then we've got a natural gas report that will be in here today. We've got some bond auctions, including a 30-year bond auction that will be important to pay attention to. And of course, the Fed balance sheet here at the end of the day. As we look into Friday and heading into that 3-day weekend, we're not done. We've got retail sales numbers, import-export prices, industrial production numbers, business inventories, Baker Hughes, and some more Fed speak. So keep an eye on that. We've got to still have a busy week ahead of us. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar here for today. And our earnings calendar, well, it's a busy one. And once again today, I did not write the morning blog. I probably won't the rest of the week. Hope you guys understand. My world is just a little bit off top dead center here. But if we take a look here, you can take a screenshot of this for those notables here this morning. We'll take a look at a few here in just a moment, but grab that off that. Just pause the video and take a screenshot. Okay, let's take a look at some of these because we've had a few reporting here this morning. John Deere has reported this morning looking a little bit lower here. We've got Haynes Brands, HBI reporting a little bit lower. We've got Crocs. Crocs is trying to move higher here out of a pretty substantial sell-off overall, so trying to move up. DDOG, Datadog, moving lower here this morning. We're going to hear from Wendy's here today. Looks like that's trying to go just a tiny bit higher. We've got Iron Mountain reporting here this morning. Things like PPC will be in there as well. Now this afternoon we have probably our more notable reports. We're going to hear from AMAT trying to move back up toward its earnings report. It's been trying to rally. We're going to get Coin this morning or this afternoon. Keep an eye on that. DraftKings will be reporting. We're going to hear from GoDaddy. And things like PACB, PanW, and Roku will be in there this afternoon. So keep an eye on that. Oh, and TWLO might be something you want to be paying close attention to as it consolidates heading into that earnings report. So watch that carefully. So with that, everyone, how about we take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube. Also click that bell icon so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And as always, I'm going to ask you for that favor to click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. I truly appreciate all the kind support. You guys are really awesome. So thank you for all that you do here as part of this YouTube community. Really do appreciate it. Let's take a look at some of these stocks setting up. And remember, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. So make sure you do your own due diligence. Be very, very careful in this market. And remember, volatility is likely to continue to be pretty substantial on these data points. So plan your risk carefully. Now, if we take a look here, PSLV, I actually picked up a position here in PSLV yesterday. Really like the way this is setting up. Silver has been holding up nicely. It's not like gold right now, which is very, very elevated, but PSLV looking good in here, and that possibility that could push on through. So just following my standard rules of engagement in any trade, just the same patterns over and over and over, and looking pretty good here so far this morning. Take a look at Steel Dynamics. Steel Dynamics still looking in here really good. Little resting, choppy consolidation in here, but I think as we move out here toward the trend, there is every reason to believe with the tariffs and things going on that we could see Steel Dynamics move to the upside. You might want to keep an eye on Nucor as well. Nucor popped through this resistance, but then we were fading it back here toward the trend, so watch that carefully in here. May have that opportunity to push on through. And of course there are other steel plays to be paying attention to, but watch that. And of course, if we are going to see the dollar fall, then start looking to some of these commodities, gold, silver, steel, copper, all of those kind of things here in the market. You're also going to want to be keeping a real close eye on these miners in here. GDX has been on a tear to the upside here, looking like it could extend again this morning. Any rest or pullback would set up an opportunity in that chart, but right now gold, GLD really pushing to the upside here on those gold miners. And you could take a look at individuals, you know, like Barrick Gold, big pop there yesterday. Just huge move, breaking through, popping through its 200 here, looking really strong. Any rest or pullback might be something there. You could take a look at things like AU. This thing has been running like crazy to the upside, showing lots of strength. You can see breaking out to all-time highs and just resting in here. Things like KGC. Showing lots of bullishness, although last few days just resting back, pulling back into some support. Keep an eye on that. If this finds some buyers in here, could be that next opportunity to the upside. So an awful lot going on here on the gold and silver miners. Now we're not seeing a whole lot of love here in aluminum. Alcoa has just not gotten much going, but I do, as I mentioned before, think it would be worth keeping an eye here on FCX. It's still below its 50-day moving average in here, but you can see that beginnings of that inverted head and shoulders pattern could be coming into play. Possibly even just a cup and handle pattern could be occurring here. Watch for that opportunity here in FCX. Other places, I think we've got to keep an eye on these grain commodities, guys. If the dollar falls, I would expect those to move up. Take a look at corn, definitely setting up in a bullish pattern. If that dollar really starts to sink in here, I would expect that to go higher. Wheat, also setting up in a bullish pattern. We rested back into support and trend here, and watch for that next potential opportunity, maybe even today on that. Soybeans getting a big old pop and drop here in the pre-market, but watch that carefully here. Still holding in that bullish pattern, worth keeping a close eye on. Of course, if you want like a basket of those commodities, why am I not getting it? There it is. DBA is a commodity ETF. Holds a lot of different commodities in here, trying to break through some highs here in DBA. So keep an eye on that if you want to hold a basket of those commodities. I'd be watching in that area. Take a look at some of the defensive sector stocks. Mickey D's, after pumping through in that earnings report, little rest back here, but I'd watch that closely. If the market starts getting a little bit squirrely here for these tops, we might see some of these defensive sector stocks like McDonald's. We're already seeing Coca-Cola, I've been talking about these for a while. Actually saw a Mondelez. This thing has been pounded down in a big way. Mondelez breaking through its downtrend here now. Just any kind of arrest or pullback in here, I think, sets up that opportunity here at Mondelez. So keep an eye on some of those defensive sectors in the market. You might also want to take a look at a few of those utilities out there. Take a look at Southern Company. It continues to look really good, showing some bullishness in here for that potential upside. I'd keep a close eye on those as well. So there's a few stocks for you to pay attention to today. I want to say thank you to everyone for watching today. Thank you for the kind support. Y'all take care, be safe, plan for some volatility. Anything is possible in here. And I will see you right back here bright and early Friday morning. Take care, everyone.